Hello and welcome to Daily Politics and Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy and governance. I am Shafiu Suleiman. We start our tidbits tonight from Kano, where an upper Sharia court has sentenced controversial Islamic cleric Abdul Jabbar Nasir Kabar to death by hanging. The court earlier convicted the embattled cleric after finding him guilty of the charge of blasphemy leveled against him. The judge in his sentencing ordered the state government to seize the two mosques belonging to Abdul Jabbar. The judge also called on all media to desist from using any of Abdul Jabbar's teachings and pictures. The convict was thereafter given 30 days to appeal the judgment or forfeit his right of appeal. We are now joined by Daily Trust reporter in Kano, Salim Umar, via telephone to give us more details on the case. Salim, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Right. Okay, you happen to be at the court today to witness this very landmark judgment, and one judgment that many Nigerians have been awaiting. What can you tell us about, first of all, the atmosphere before this judgment?
Well, the atmosphere was nothing but a chunk of security operatives who manned major streets in and around the vicinity of the court. And everyone who knows Emir's Palace in Kano, from the popular Nasarawa Bridge down to Emir's Palace and around the court, which is directly opposite the Emir's Palace, all you can see is security operatives, majorly from the police and other security agencies, who also restricted movement around the vicinity just to assure security and a move to curtail any unforeseen or violent act that might arise.
Okay.
So majorly that was the...
Yes. Okay, Salim, was there any, why was the beep up now? Was there any security threat or a report of anticipated breach of security? What really informed this tight security that you talked about?
Well, honestly, the security agencies were proactive because 2 days ago or so, there are reports here and there, unverified, if I can say, unverified, yes, that a violent act. You know, the issue of is an issue of religion. An issue of religion is very sensitive in Kano. So the security agencies, the state government, and all stakeholders that are involved don't take this issue serious. They take this issue seriously because of the sensitivity it takes. We are talking about the case of blasphemy against the Prophet Muhammad, and largely Kano is inhabitants are Muslims, and we all know how they took
went further to accuse the court for twisting his words.
There are concerns that
Deliver your judgment. I'm not asking you for leniency at all. I want all my followers to know that I will die a hero, and I don't want you, Ibrahim said Kiola, to do me any favor or grant me leniency. This is my last word. Assalamu alaikum.
Based on Section 382 of the Kano State Penal Code 2000.
Against his favor, the people of the citizens within can also attack maybe his house or the two mosques that were set to be used in preaching these blasphemous statements. So majorly this is the concern, and the security agencies were proactive in taking measures which really worked out.
Okay, just like you said, the judgment went, not really in favor of the accused, if you like, or the convicted sheikh. Now, after the judgment, there was a reaction also by Abdul Jabbar and his counsel. Can you tell us what was his reaction to the judgment?
Well, his reaction was...
Presiding Judge Justice Sarkiola says after several sittings to ascertain the validity or otherwise of Sheikh Abdul Jabbar's denial of the 4-count charges, the court has so far studied all the charges, cross-examined all the witnesses, and studied all the evidences presented, and has
close to the pronouncement of the judgment when he was asked to, if he had anything that he want to say or a message he want to pass before the sentence.
Grant me leniency. This is my last word. Assalamu alaikum.
Stood up and
based on Section 382 of the Kano State Penal Code 2000, presiding judge
retaliated and said he doesn't know that lawyer, and this is the first time he was seeing him. So that created a scene of drama, actually, that that even the accused person, Abdul Jabbar, went ahead in accusing the judge himself that he manipulated the issues contained, that he has put in words that he never said or never uttered in the judgment.
Okay. Yeah,
so,
Salim, the convicted cleric has a 30 days window to appeal this judgment. Do you see him possibly, or has he indicated any interest to go upstairs, perhaps, appeal the judgment?
Well, from all indications, from what we saw in the court, he has no intention of appealing the case, because he was directly even telling the judge to go ahead and pronounce him dead by hanging, so that he can. He was literally asking the judge to kill him, to be fast in killing him, so that he can.
Therefore,
he can
the
die
line on this section 382B of the
based on section 382 of the Kano State Penal Code 2000, presiding judge Justice Sarkiola says after several sittings to ascertain the validity or otherwise of Sheikh Abdul Jabbar.
This signals really that he has no intention of appealing. But anything might happen
Okay. Lastly, Salim, what was the atmosphere like after the judgment in Kano State and that area in particular?
Well, the people of Kano were really anticipating this, and they are expecting this to happen. So it's really something that went in their favor, much to their expectations. So there was no really something to write home about. As soon as the court proceedings were off, everybody came out. Especially those who were restricted within the vicinity, they came out and started going about with their activities as usual. So there was no any tension, there was no any cause for alarm.
Thank you very much, Salim Ibrahim, Daily Trust correspondent there in Kano, giving us an update with regards to this judgment which convicted Abdul Jabbar Nasiru Kabara, who was sentenced, to death by hanging. Thank you very much for those insights. And now back to the nation's capital, where the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, which is Nigeria's foremost anti-graft agency, is critically looking at every petition of corruption directed against top Nigerian politicians. The chairman of the EFCC, Abdul Rashid Bao, confirmed this on Thursday while speaking to newsmen at the State House, Abuja, revealing that it has secured 3,615 convictions on financial and cyber crimes across the country between January and December 2022. Now take a look at this report.
The Petitions Vetting Desk Committee of the EFCC is made up of experienced officers from the legal department, as well as those trained to investigate such allegations. That unit is scrutinizing every petition before it and working to establish the veracity of the allegations. The EFCC chairman, however, says the anti-graft body will not invite any of the 18 presidential candidates because of the meanings that will be read into it.
There are a lot of petitions, left, right, center, against almost every politician that is contesting for office. But what are we going to do, at this hour? Do you want us now to invite one presidential candidate to come and make statement? The same media is going to say it's politically what? Motivated. Abi? So we are working behind the scene on all the petitions that we receive that have merit, that are not, politically motivated, and that is why in every command we have what is called petition vetting committee.
But the commission is encouraging members of public, including the media, to continue to report cases of corruption to the EFCC.
So we are working hand in gloves. This is a very, very serious challenge for the country. The activities of cyber criminals is alarming. It is very dangerous for us, and I am calling on all Nigerians to ensure that they are working with law enforcement agencies towards curtailing this problem. These are issues that we all know, that they are tarnishing our image, they are bringing in illicit funds, and victims out there are crying, losing their pension, losing their valuable assets as well as hard-earned resources.
The over 3,600 convictions secured by the Commission is a testament to its success in tackling issues bordering on financial crimes across the country, and represents, according to the chairman, the highest in terms of convictions ever recorded by the EFCC.
The Accountant General of the Federation was arrested. Out of that fraudulent activities, the EFCC have recovered over 30 billion now, and we're already prosecuting them. So what is there? Tell us, anybody that you know that has done anything, we'll be able to investigate him and we move on.
The Commission will soon auction automobiles forfeited to the state and will also dispose of over 160 houses to interested buyers. From State House, Abuja, Kehinde Amudu, Trust TV News.
And finally, on policy and the economy, Nigerians have been reacting to the non-availability of the redesigned NAIRA notes in circulation following the arrival of the release date for the circulation. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, had announced that the 1,000 Naira, 500 Naira and 200 Naira notes would be redesigned and distributed to banks on the 15th of December 2022. Here is what they had to say.
The Naira redesign sparked heated discourse in several fora, with many debating its necessity. However, as the 15th December circulation date drew closer, the curiosity of many Nigerians escalated. With the date finally here, we asked FCT residents what they thought of the rollout and if they had finally seen the new notes.
If the policy they have thought out is going to be have a positive impact on the masses, then it's fine. But if it's not, I think it's just a waste of resources. Yeah, I've seen on social media, but for me, on social media, it's just like a replication of the NAIRA that is existing already.
What I was thinking the CBN should do is that the CBN should take out time to restabilize the NAIRA instead of redesigning the NAIRA. No, I've not. I've seen it online, and it has become even a thing of joke, because it's just like they just did a flipping and change some colors and all that. You understand? So we're just thinking like it's the same thing. They just want to not redesign. They just shade it and the rest.
Every government policy is supposed to be good, and Nigerians are supposed to embrace and welcome it. For the new NAIRA notes, as a citizen of Nigeria, resident in the territory of the president, I have not seen it with my own bare eyes yet.
Individuals weren't the only ones yet to have the new notes. Business owners, too, were yet to receive the notes via purchases from customers.
There is nothing bad with that, but they said the new NAIRA note was supposed to be displayed today, starting from today till further notice. So, but as for me, I've not received the new NAIRA notes because I don't know, maybe it's because I've not gone to the bank.
A lady came and was like, whether I don't have the new notes yet. I said no. So she was now laughing, just joking.
But I've seen 1,000, the new 1,000 note today. we have seen it because we had a special order. Some of the money came in units. And we're hoping for more of the 200 and 500 today, tomorrow, because people that work here around their banks and all of that, they come in to buy in the morning and in the afternoon.
From the foregoing, Nigerians are still yet to have their curiosity doused as they still have not yet accessed the redesigned Naira denominations.
We now go on a quick break, and when we return, the conversation begins. Stay with us. Good evening and welcome to Daily Politics once again. Today marks the beginning of the circulation of the redesigned Naira note, a move by the Central Bank of Nigeria that has sparked controversy and debate. Just 2 months before the presidential elections in Nigeria, the decision to redesign the country's currency has raised questions about the potential political and economic implications. Critics have also pointed out that the rush implementation of the new withdrawal policy by the CBN could cause hardship for everyday Nigerians. We have in the studio Dr. Tanko Ahmed, a policy analyst and lecturer at the University of Abuja. Thank you for joining us. Base University, yes. Abuja. Sorry for that.
Thank you. Pleased to be with you viewers.
Right. Okay. Also joining us for the discussion is Dr. Jamilu Muhammad, an economist and an author. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Together, we'll be exploring these issues and more on tonight's program. Welcome to the platform this evening once again.
Thank you very much.
Now, okay, let's start with Dr. Tanko.
Yeah.
In the first place, you know, this economic policy by the Buhari administration has generated a lot of controversy. Let's start with the redesign of the Naira note in the first place before, you know, the withdrawal cap. To some, it is apt. To others, it is an afterthought. It is a decision, a hasty decision to arrive at certain conclusions that might not, you know, impact the country positively. Let me get your view.
Well, thank you very much. Naturally, like most policies, not only economic policies, public policy, the public in public policy means people's policy. So usually most of government actions are based on government policies. Sometimes even institutions are constructed to deliver policies. So when public policies are being implemented, there is this confusion that people tend to mix up what is policy, what is strategy. In short, a policy is a plan by government, a plan like an intention. It also remains as a proposal because you need to be tabling it all the time, and it's also a process. In this case, monetary policy under central bank is a process. It's a process. So now the central bank also has to introduce some strategic moves to implement. Strategy in this sense is not a policy, but an approach that you take. In fact, strategy will not come in until there is policy on the ground. Strategy is something, the action and the thinking that you take to get this policy to ground. A lot of people are bringing in a lot of reasons. If you go to villages now with the camera instead of streets of Abuja, you will hear different stories. But generally, we know that monetary policies they are designed through strategic implementation to control the behavior of public. You remember I was saying that public policy, that public is people.
That's right.
So there are aspects of improvement on the cashless policy, and also there are aspects of controlling money in circulation. Also, there are security implications on this. This came just right at the time when a lot of money has been stolen, or a lot of money has been snatched off by kidnappers, by bandits and other things. How do you get it back? If you change this money, you will leave the other people stranded with the money. Then suddenly, there is a political process now which needs a lot of cash going around. Now you restrict this cash. At the end of the day, this is a weapon to fight crime. It is an instrument to fashion our own institutions and agencies to work better, and it is a tool also to improve on income. When we talk to the economics, we will hear that also this thing would be good for some, while it is bad for some. We can't even say good and bad, we say hard or easy.
Okay, Dr. Jamilu, looking at the basics, if you like, or the reasons behind this strategy or this move by the federal government, you talk about mopping up excess liquidity, addressing insecurity, and of course curbing inflation and what have you. Do you see this as a potent weapon, to address this? Or some say they require, these are issues that require a holistic approach, not just a cosmetic approach. Where do you classify it?
Thank you very much. It is actually not a holistic approach. You see, as the doctor has emphasized, we have to differentiate between the policy and the strategy. What are we now dealing with? Where is the problem? Is the problem in the policy or in the strategy? Deploying the policy. When you have the policy, in the main frame of the policy, you have the design and then the strategy for deploying and executing the policy. Okay, where now do we have the problem? Is it in the design of the policy? Is it the policy that is the problem? Or the implementation, the strategy? Now, how to deal with the main issues at stake? If you are talking about, say, inflation, of course, the redesign and the reissuing of our NAIRA currency is not meant to solve our monetary policy issues like inflation. That is not the issue. I think basically the main reason for introducing this policy is barely economics. It's barely economics. The economics in it is very small. Rather, is political. One, we say we are going towards an election, and the government is suspecting that there are a lot of stolen money stashed in cash. The governor of the central bank told us that we have about 2.something trillion that is outside the banking system, while what we have within the banking system is just 1.something trillion. That is very alarming. That may affect, or it affects actually the way the economy runs. It affects also our inflation. Yes, it raises the inflation level. We agree with that. Now, the other side of it is the crimes, which Doctor have said. We have bandits, we have kidnappers. They also start a lot of physical currency, cash, with them. So how do you retrieve this? I think this is what government saw and said, okay, the best way to do this is to redesign and then reissue the NAIRA currency. But I think that is a little bit flawed, as far as I'm concerned. It's a little bit flawed because it is more of political than economics. If you are talking about the economics of it, if you know these people have a lot of money stashed outside the banking system, I think where is your nation's intelligence? That is very key.
Tracking the movement of the funds.
Yes, it has to be tracking this. It is not about saying, okay, let me redesign and reissue this money and then change the money. Look at how they have capped your cash withdrawal is very ineffective as far as the economics is concerned. Possibly politically it may work, socially it may work, but economically several economic entities are going to be grounded by this. So I think it is a wrong approach in the deployment.
Okay, looking at the approach and perhaps the impact and how it's, if you like, the implications, just like he said. Beyond just looking at the political aspect, you also need to look at the economy, and then you also need to look at those that will be affected. Yes, to many, it has to be done, it's imperative, but what are the safeguards we are putting, as a nation, to also look at those using these monies legitimately, especially at the grassroots level? There has been concerns that it's going to affect largely, the local economy, talking about businesses, the market and what have you, especially where there is absence of even network to do cashless transactions, so to speak. How are you looking at the rate, perhaps, or the impact this will make in terms of, slowing down the economy?
Yeah, thank you very much. We have already established the difference between policy and strategy. Usually the effectiveness of any policy, whether it is monetary, whether it is whatever, when you come to the strategic level of it, there is what you call buy-in process in what you call under strategic planning. That is, everybody that is going to be affected must know exactly what is going to happen within the strategic approach you adopted to manage this policy framework or activities or whatever. Let's say the first line of relief and also efficiency is to make everybody know how this thing is going to work. Quite all right, they have been doing it. It has been announced on TV, it has been announced on radio and other things. I learned that there are even some kind of a soft banking system that will benefit only rural dwellers, and also POS, lower income persons, and also for those that have ways to beat the system. This reduction in amount of money you are going to withdraw per day, per week, would also help in some kind of redistribution of income. Because if I have, let's say I have 100 million naira in the bank today, I want 1 million naira in the house. I can easily tell people, if nobody will stop me from transferring money to you. You go for every 20,000 you withdraw for me, you take 5,000, you bring 15,000 to me. To some extent, of course, this is trying to beat the system. But even if you try to beat it, that is one beautiful thing of weaponization process of a strategy like this. Even if you try to beat it, some money will have to go down to people who don't have it. So be it. But then in the other hand, there is full responsibility for everybody also to get people to understand where are our key bankers, where are our key merchants, people who actually deal with money and other things. You don't see them coming out to really explain whether this is good or bad. They are quiet because everybody wants to see the advantage of it and the reckless way they implement government policy. A single individual will say that he will be the one to talk on a particular aspect. Yeah, you can do that on a public engagement. Yeah, that is why it is said a public policy. Once it is a public policy, that public, look, what is public? People. Yes, sir. Yes. Our bankers, our teachers, even our imams in the mosque, tax collectors, administrators, politicians, they should come out, look, branch out to explain this thing.
So there should have been a window for sensitization
but even
and
for now, there are people that are even bringing in very, very much smart ideas to make people understand. You are the Daily Trust cartoon of today. I am a fan of the Bulama cartoon. Bulama cartoon of 15 December. Aha, that's it there. Look at it. Checkmate. That is the president now has tried to work with the police, work all the agencies, even TSA. You remember TSA? If TSA were to be working, you don't need to change this money. Everything will be trapped inside the TSA. It's not working. But look at this.
So is it an indictment now on the part
look at this beautiful cartoon.
Yes, those
it's a checkmate.
Okay, that's quite interesting. So, desperate situations require desperate measures.
But then when you are in charge of the keyboard, you can't sleep. You have to go here, go there, absorb the criticism, take in the good advice, talk with everybody, listen everywhere. That is where the aspect of intelligence, which my doctor has just mentioned. Actually, intelligence people are collecting all these things. They are putting it into the system. So you need to react.
Okay, we're beginning to see the fallout, if you like, of this decisions by the government. Because already we understand certain amounts of money, are getting back to the banking system. How they are getting back to the banking system and who are returning them is entirely another issue.
But that one, you leave it with the government.
So we'll talk about that, perhaps when we return from the break.
Okay.
In case you're just joining us, we are discussing today, we're looking at the, that is the NAIRA redesigning and, of course, how the implications on the polity and the economy. And I've been interfacing with Dr. Tanko Ahmed, a policy analyst and a lecturer with the Base University here in Abuja, and Dr. Jamilu Mohammed, who is an economist and also an author. So together we'll be looking at this issue very closely. When we return, we'll look at other aspects of it. The plus, I mean, the deliverables and, of course, the impact is going to make on our economy. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
That's great.
Thank you very much for staying with us. In case you're just joining us, this is Daily Politics, and of course it's coming to you on Trust TV here in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. You can do well by following our conversation across our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and you can also watch us live on YouTube. Before the break, we've been interfacing with Dr. Tanko Ahmed and, of course, Dr. Jamilu Mohammed on Nigeria's government policy, if you like, or decision to redesign the NAIRA notes, and of course the cashless policy that is also being implemented, which seem to reduce, the cash in circulation. We are back, gentlemen. Just before the break, Dr. Jamilu, Dr. Tanko is talking about, the fact that yes, the government has to take a decision, looking at the challenges we are facing. But at the same time, those that the decisions are targeted at also devising ways of beating them, finding ways around them. But bottom line is, Nigerians are worried about how these policies or strategies will affect the common people, because that is the bottom line. Those who are doing their legitimate businesses and, of course, how do you think, this segment of the society can be insulated, or what measures can be taken, to reduce the severity of the impact of these policies on ordinary Nigerians?
In the first place, the policy was supposed to have been designed in such a way that we do not have those negative repercussions, or the negative repercussions should be as minimal as possible, such that you don't need to even deploy special measures in order to protect the vulnerable. That should have been in the policy design itself. Unfortunately, that's not what we are having. Now, for instance, this is a special program, a special policy. The redesign and the reissuing of the NAIRA notes. It's a special program. So it does not require regular deployment. It also requires special deployment. For instance, you now have the central bank issuing Nigeria's currency through our commercial banks. Okay, that is regular. But outside this regularity, we can see, for instance, the central bank, when giving us our exchange rate, we have a kind of a dual exchange rate. Why? We have the official rate, and then we have the so-called black market or parallel market through the BDCs. Why create the BDCs? It's a kind of a special program the CBN thought would a kind of mitigate possibly a monopoly of maybe the commercial banks issuing the hard currency. Okay, if you can do that there, why can't you still do it here? Make a special program for reissuing of the NAIRA notes. Instead of using the regular commercial banks, deploy your own systems. People have accused or have criticized the Central Bank of Nigeria for bringing in social reform programs instead of economic reform programs. Something like NISAL. Some people say the central bank is not supposed to deploy or even issue a program like that of NISAL. Some economists don't agree with that.
Why?
Things like, what do you call this, asset, AMCON.
Yes, asset management.
Asset management, I am one of those who oppose that kind of thing. Okay, but still, we still have this as special programs deployed to contain certain issues.
So in other words, there are no contingencies, or there are no stopgap arrangements to absorb the shocks, so to speak.
Well, the shocks even, why design the policy to have very strong vibrating shocks? Why? In the first place, designed to have very minimal shocks, such that naturally these shocks, you have regular systems that would absorb those
Perhaps because of the exigency of the deployment.
No, it
but then it has been also a lot of controversies, I mean, a lot of criticism regarding the, if you like, I wouldn't want to say monopoly now, but the unilateral decision, so to speak. There has been concerns around why not involve other major stakeholders before taking such a decision. The finance minister was excluded in it. A number of key stakeholders were excluded. It was sort of an arrangement between the president and the CBN governor, and then it was made, to be deployed, to 200 million people. So in all of this, where do you see the rationale, if you like, or the sensitivity, of taking such a decision in a rush, and then looking at all of these implications we are talking about?
Okay, thank you very much. I like the explanation my Dr. Jamil just gave now. Yes, it is a fact that society now ran on parallel strands. There are people who do their things, they have nothing to do with government. I've just finished a new course titled Youth and Society, what at 800 level. What we discovered there is that there are a certain group of citizens, by virtue of their own free will, understanding, guts to break through, they are able to form. Look at these kids that are into music, they are into a football, they are into a lot of things. Go to the market today in Abuja, go and check out of 10 businessmen in the market, how many of them have anything to do with government? A lot of things now, when you construct a policy, even if the people are not informed, you test the strategy. One thing with strategy is that it should be flexible. If I decide to run out of this building through the main door, and I discover that what is going to trap me is by the door, I may decide to join through the window. That is timing, that is situation, and that is the dictates and my own flexible movement. You get to, once you are focused on the policy or you want to do. These kind of things, they may be problematic to some people, they may not be problematic to others. As leaders now, leaders of institutions, ministries, all government ministries, Ministry of Information, Ministry of Agriculture, to see the this thing advantage for farmers and for food security, even the police, everybody has to put, you must put your own contribution here. While the people now, the easiest thing for people is not to start confronting wrong targets, or a central bank may be wrong target to particular aspect of the policy. Now, just because it comes out from central bank, you don't know is the person next door or is another institution that is making your participation, understanding and benefits of this policy. It is another institution, a central bank. It is another person, not your banker, that their own financial behavior affects this. So what is the solution? The solution is for us to start moving away from too much structure. Everything, they call it an architecture. You have security architecture, you have financial architecture, you have architecture.
But how do we run without such a structure?
Well, everybody now is grabbing his own ground and say, yeah, I'm in control. No, we have something now that is called ecosystem. Ecosystem is a term for environmentalists. They mean when you see a piece of forest, don't touch the tree, because if you cut down the tree, the rats there will die, the birds will die, the flower will die, the grass will go, desert will come, things like that. So now everything, like Dr. Jamil say, everything is connected to everything. So that is the way we should see it. People should not only just keep quiet, they should also do their own bit.
Yes. Okay. For the success of the policy
as citizens.
Objectives. Yeah. All right, Dr. Jamilu, let's look at the transition, if you like, or the window, or the timeline. Some say it was too short, but then some say it is strategic, looking at the elections, coming very close. Do you think it is advisable, or do you think there is a need for an extension now? We're talking about by the 1st of January, this old notes would not be in circulation, if I get it right. So we have less than perhaps in the next 2 weeks, for instance, this will come into effect. And the NAIRA notes, the redesigned NAIRA notes, are yet to be available. So how do we address this issue?
Well, I think we have to understand that the whole policy is strategic, is political rather than economic. That's why when you said you have to involve all the stakeholders, it's not possible. If it were an economic policy, then you could bring Ministry of Agri, bring Ministry of Finance, sit down, brainstorm. But they did this as a political tool or a political weapon against the so-called political or our political-economic thieves. They say they have stolen a lot of money and snatched them. How do we get those monies back? So you see,
or how do you prevent them from using it?
How do we prevent them from using it? Thank you very much. So the issue is not economics. So the Minister of Finance wouldn't have possibly been involved if her political allegiance or political loyalty to that particular policy was not in doubt. That's how I see it. Her political loyalty was in doubt, so possibly they excluded her. But you could see in the board, we know they said the permanent secretary of Ministry of Finance is in the CBN board. So how would you include a member of the Ministry of Finance and then exclude the minister? You could still see the politics there. Right. Okay. Since it is a political policy rather than an economic policy, we should now be talking about the political way of mitigating the issues, not the economics. You see, I don't think the CBN has done due diligence in capping the cash withdrawal policy, not even the timing.
Okay. The cap, yes.
The cap.
Talking
itself.
about 500.
Yes,
I mean,
I don't think it's not scientific.
100,000.
I don't think there's any scientific basis. What is the average spending, the spending or the purchasing power of the average Nigeria? I don't think this is. When you go to the National Bureau for Statistics, the figures you get there is different. When you go to, say,
the reality on ground,
Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru Jos, give us your data, the data will be different. So there is no scientific basis for the CBN coming out to tell us 20,000 naira per day, 100,000 naira per week. There's no scientific basis. I think somebody just sat down in the room and said, okay, this is what we are going to do. So that is not going
so how
to
do
work.
we yes, Doctor, how do we address the impact, the repercussion of all of this? Because certainly there is a concern that it might trigger some sort of public reaction now when people are beginning to stifle of funds and all of that, and then the economy is not moving and people are frustrated. How can the government handle this backlash if, in the nearest future?
Going beyond what Dr. Jamil just explained to us, I would like to go back to my responsibility umbrella, where everybody has to be involved here. And even if the monetary policies are done politically or economic or whatever, or social, once you begin to break down this structural vacuum where everybody will think is his own position in the agency, or is the agency itself against other agencies, that is where there is faulty policy formulation. There are faulty policy formulations. Of course, if you are going to do any plan or any proposal or any process, you can't be perfect. That's right. You can't be perfect, but then you try your best. Like the MBS he has mentioned, MBS is the only agency that will saddled with collecting data. If you go to NIPS, as you mentioned, NIPS will get data that is acceptable. That is what the participants use there, or that is what we were using. That's where I did all my career. All other agencies too should be like that. And the issue of one ministry saying that the other ministry or agency has been taken out or whatever. The Federal Executive Council is the stock market of all the federal policies. That is where every Thursday they meet. When they decide on agriculture, we know that the Minister of Information, the Minister of Economic Planning, all the other ministers in external affairs,
perhaps this one was not tabled at the FEC, for instance.
Well, then it is strategic move.
Right, okay. Okay, thank you very much. Let me get your last line because we are rounding up. Dr. Jamilu.
Okay. I think I don't see in the first place this to be a policy. Okay. It's a weapon, not a policy. It's only going to last for maybe 3, 4, 5 months. Beyond March, April, that should not exist.
Okay.
The main thing is we want those monies to be wasted. Those monies we think with the politicians that are not their money.
Right.
We want those monies either back or to be wasted. I think that's the whole thing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jamilu Mohammed, an economist and author, for your perspectives. We also appreciate Dr. Tanko Ahmed.
Thank you very much.
For a policy analyst and a lecturer at the Bayes University.
Thank you very much
for your insights. On your behalf and the technical crew, this is where we come to the end of this discussions. Do join us tomorrow. We'll be back with another topic and personalities. Until then, I'm Shafiur Suleiman, thanking you for investing your time with us.